street boy promised a rich girl marriage when billionaire. Years later, a single dad returns. Celeste Davenport on the 15th floor of the Mel Brock Hotel, her fingers between her mahogany desk, in a small leather diary that she kept hidden in the bottom drawer. Inside, pressed between business notes, was a faded $10 bill, twin to one she had given away 15 years ago when she was 7 years old. "Miss Davenport?" Her assistant's voice through the intercom. "The new maintenance team member is here for orientation." Celeste closed the drawer harder than necessary. "Send him to Mr. Peterson. I don't handle basic integrations." "Yes, ma'am. Also, there's a situation in the lobby. A child asking questions about the hotel's history. Security isn't sure how." "A child?" Celeste's attention sharpened. The Mel Brock Hotel wasn't a family destination. It served business executives, politicians, celebrities seeking discretion. "Where are her parents?" "She came with the new maintenance worker, ma'am." "His daughter." Something tightened in Celeste's chest. She found herself heading toward the elevator, decided to investigate. The lobby of the Mel Brock Hotel was a masterpiece of discreet luxury. Cream marble floors, Art Deco fixtures, fresh orchids arranged in crystal vases on every surface. And there, standing near the concierge desk in a pink dress and white shoes, was a 7-year-old girl with blonde hair studying a brass plaque. "Why does it say, 'Built on dreams sustained by dedication'?" the girl asked the flustered concierge. "Whose dreams? And what kind of dedication? Is it like when my dad fixes my bike even when he's tired?" Celeste found herself smiling. The girl's curiosity was refreshing in a space usually filled with people too tired to marvel at anything. "Hannah Bell, we talked about this." The voice came from behind Celeste and she turned. Ryan Walker stood there in a blue maintenance uniform. He was perhaps 29 years old, with a face that suggested he had seen more than his years should allow. "I'm sorry," he said, addressing the concierge, but his gaze kept sliding toward Celeste. "My daughter has a very active imagination. Hannah, come here, please." "But I was just asking questions," Hannah protested, though she obediently moved toward her father. "I said so," Ryan acknowledged, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "But there's a time and place, and I'm at work now." "Is there a problem here?" Celeste asked, stepping forward with authority. Ryan looked at Celeste for the first time, and something passed between them, a flash of recognition that made no sense. They had never met. "No problem, ma'am," Ryan said. "I'm Ryan Walker, new member of your maintenance team. This is Hannah, my daughter. She's enthusiastic about learning." Celeste looked at the girl who was studying her with curiosity. "What grade are you in, Hannah?" "Second grade, but I read at 4th grade level," Hannah announced proudly. "And I know all the presidents in order, and I can name 15 types of clouds and—" "Hannah," Ryan interrupted gently, "maybe save the rest for later." The girl laughed, and Celeste wondered, when was the last time she heard genuine laughter in this hotel? "Your daughter is charming," she said, "and her questions are valid. The hotel was built by my grandfather in 1952. His dream was to create a space where important people could meet in privacy and comfort. The dedication part." She paused. "That was my grandmother's contribution. She believed that nothing worthwhile lasts without daily commitment." "That's beautiful," Hannah said. "Like my dad is." "Well, Mr. Walker," she said, forcing herself back into professional mode, "I hope you and Hannah will be very happy here. And Hannah, if you have questions about the hotel's history, you can ask me. I'm Celeste Davenport." "You own this whole building?" Hannah's eyes widened. "All of it," Celeste confirmed. "That must be lonely," Hannah said with childlike honesty. The words hit harder than they should. Celeste opened her mouth to respond, but Ryan was already guiding his daughter away. "I'm sorry," he said. "She has no filter sometimes." "No, it's—" Celeste paused. "It's okay. She's perceptive." As Ryan and Hannah walked away, the girl's voice floated back. "Daddy, why did that lady look so sad?" Ryan's response was too low to hear, but Celeste stood frozen in the lobby, that faded $10 bill burning in her memory. When she had given it to that homeless boy all those years ago, she had been Hannah's age, 7 years old, standing outside a supermarket with her grandmother, watching a skinny boy with dirt on his face counting coins for a bottle of water. "Here," she had said, extending the crumpled bills her grandmother had given her for ice cream. "Take this." The boy had looked at the money as if it were a miracle. "Why?" "Because you need it more than I need ice cream." He took it with trembling fingers and then said something that echoed in her mind for 15 years. "When I'm a billionaire, I'm going to marry you. I promise." She had laughed, thinking it was the sweetest thing anyone had ever said. "Okay, it's a deal." Her phone rang. Business. Always business. But as Celeste rode the elevator back to her office, she thought about the image of Ryan Walker's kind eyes and his daughter's innocent observation. The next days passed at their usual pace. Board meetings, supplier negotiations, staff evaluations. Celeste moved through everything with practiced efficiency. He arrived every morning at 6:30, half an hour before his shift, and spent those 30 minutes in the employee parking lot working on his black Ford Mustang Fox body, which appeared to have been lovingly restored piece by piece. She watched him sometimes from her office window, coffee in hand, observing the way he moved around the machine with reverence and skill. Hannah sat in the back seat, reading or doing homework, occasionally handing her father tools when he asked. It was a portrait of happiness that made Celeste's chest ache. "You're watching the maintenance guy again," her assistant Margaret observed one morning, appearing with a stack of contracts. Margaret was 63, had worked for the hotel since before Celeste was born, and had earned the right to speak her mind. "I'm not watching anyone," Celeste lied. "I'm thinking." Thinking about the single dad with a philosopher's soul who's overqualified to push a mop. Celeste turned from the window. "What do you mean overqualified?" Margaret set down the contracts. "I processed his background check. The man has a degree in mechanical engineering from a state university. Honor roll 3 years running. He could be designing engines for aerospace companies, and instead he's cleaning bathrooms in a hotel. Why would someone with that background take this job? That's the question, isn't it? But whatever his reasons, he's the best maintenance worker we've ever had. Fixed everything in the East Wing that's been giving us problems for months. Noticed a water pressure issue before it became a flood. The man sees things." Celeste filed away that information, her curiosity deepening. Ryan Walker was becoming a puzzle she wanted to solve. Later that week, she found them again. She was leaving late after 9 at night, when she heard music coming from the hotel's rooftop garden, a space reserved for elite guests and rarely used at night. Following the sound, she found Ryan and Hannah there, the little girl dancing to music from an old phone while her father watched with a smile that transformed his face and accompanied playing guitar. They hadn't noticed her yet. "Daddy, dance with me," Hannah called. "Leave the guitar there," spinning in her pink dress. "I don't dance, girl, I just play. You know that. Everyone can dance, you just have to feel the music." Hannah grabbed his hands, pulling him into her orbit. Ryan laughed, a sound so genuine it made Celeste's heart skip, and let himself be led into an awkward but charming movement. Hannah laughed, and for a moment they were just a father and daughter, lost in their own world. "You're very good at this," Celeste found herself saying, stepping out of the shadows. Both froze. Ryan looked mortified, immediately protective of his daughter. "Miss Davenport, I'm sorry, I know we shouldn't be up here. Hannah wanted to see the stars, and I thought since it was late and there were no guests—" "It's okay," Celeste interrupted. "The garden is beautiful at night. It shouldn't be wasted." "I can see Orion," Hannah announced, pointing at the sky. "And there's the Big Dipper. Did you know the North Star isn't the brightest star? People think it is, but actually it's only the 48th brightest. Polaris just happens to be in the right place." "I didn't know that," Celeste admitted, moving closer to where they stood. From this height, the city spread below them like a carpet of lights. "You know a lot about astronomy. My dad teaches me. He says understanding the stars helps you understand your place in the universe." Hannah looked at her father with pure adoration. "He's very smart, even though he cleans floors." "Hannah," Ryan said softly. "You are," the girl protested. "Just because you didn't become an engineer doesn't mean you're not smart." There was the confirmation of what Margaret had told her. Celeste studied Ryan with new eyes, seeing the way he carried himself, the intelligence evident in every gesture. "Why not?" she asked. "Become an engineer, I mean." Ryan's jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then quietly, "Life had other plans." "I was the other plans?" Hannah asked. "You," Ryan said, kneeling to his daughter's level, "were the best plan my life ever had. Never think otherwise. I used to come up here with my grandmother. She loved the stars too. She said they reminded us that problems that seem huge are actually quite small in the grand scheme of things. I read a lot. Hannah yawned dramatically and Ryan checked his watch. Past someone's bedtime, we should go. Where do you go? Celeste asked. At night, I mean. Do you have family nearby? We have an apartment about 20 minutes from here, Ryan said, picking up the phone and guitar. Nothing fancy, but it's ours. Hannah has her own room, there's heating and running water, and we're together. That's all that matters. As they prepared to leave, Hannah turned. Miss Davenport, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you believe in promises? Like, really believe that when someone promises something, they'll keep it no matter what? And the question hit Celeste like a physical blow. That $10 bill, that boy's promise. When I'm a billionaire, I'm going to marry you. I want to believe in promises, Celeste said carefully. But people change. Circumstances change. Sometimes keeping a promise becomes impossible. That's sad, Hannah said. My dad says a man is only as good as his word. That's why he worked so hard, because he promised my mom before she died that he'd take care of me no matter what. The revelation hung in the air. Celeste saw sadness pass over his face. Old sadness. Well worn, but never forgotten. Your mother, Celeste began, then stopped, uncertain how to continue. Died when Hannah was born, Ryan said quietly. Complications. 1 minute we were expecting our daughter. The next I was a single father trying to figure out how to keep going. I'm sorry, Celeste said. Don't be, Hannah said. I never knew her, so I don't miss her the way my dad does. But he tells me about her every night. She was a teacher and loved books and had a laugh that made everyone smile. Right, Daddy? Right, girl. Ryan's voice was thick with emotion. They left soon after, and Celeste stood alone in the rooftop garden looking at the stars and thinking about promises and joy, seeing how a simple man, but very intelligent, loved his daughter with fierce tenderness. In the following weeks, Celeste found herself engineering encounters. She had afternoon coffee in the lobby when Ryan cleaned the brass fixtures. She worked late on his night shifts, ensuring she'd pass him in the hallways. They talked. Small talk at first, about Hannah's school, the hotel's history, books they had read. But gradually something deeper emerged. One evening she found him alone in the hotel library. He was reshelving books with such care, reading the spines, occasionally pulling one out. Find anything interesting? She asked. Ryan turned. Your grandfather had excellent taste. First editions of Steinbeck, Hemingway, Fitzgerald. These books are worth a fortune. They're just gathering dust. Celeste moved closer. I can't remember the last time anyone used this library. That's a shame. Books are meant to be read, not displayed. He pulled out a worn copy of The Old Man and the Sea. This was one of my father's favorites. Where is he now? Your father? Ryan's expression closed off. Passed away 5 years ago. My mother went 6 months later. Broken heart, the doctors said, though they dressed it up in medical terms. I'm sorry. Losing parents is... Celeste paused, searching for words. My parents died when I was 10. Car accident. My grandmother raised me, taught me everything about running this hotel. She passed away 2 years ago. They stood in silence. Is that why you keep this place running? Ryan asked. To honor her? Maybe. Or maybe because I don't know who I am without it. The admission came easier than it should. The hotel, the business, the responsibility. It gives me purpose. Without it, you'd have to figure out what makes Celeste Davenport happy, Ryan completed. And what makes Ryan Walker happy? She countered. Besides being Hannah's father? He considered this, placing the book back on the shelf with precision. Honestly, I'm not sure anymore. There was a time when I thought I knew. Graduate? Become an engineer. Change the world one invention at a time. What happened? Celeste asked. Ryan looked at her for a long moment. I met Sarah, Hannah's mother, in my junior year of college. She was everything I wasn't. Spontaneous, cheerful, fearless. We fell in love hard and fast. We got married at the courthouse 3 months after we met. Sarah got pregnant during my senior year. I was thrilled, terrified, but ready. I had job offers. We were going to make it work. But she had complications, and her family insisted she come home for the pregnancy. I stayed to finish my degree, working 2 jobs. Celeste's heart tightened. She could see where this was going. I drove 12 hours the night Sarah went into labor. I arrived at the hospital, held my daughter for the first time, and lost my wife on the same day. Sarah hemorrhaged. They couldn't stop it, and suddenly I was a single father with a newborn. He stopped, his hands clenching into fists. And her relatives? What did they do? They blamed me. Said I should have been there. Should have insisted she stay close to me. They were grieving, angry, looking for someone to hurt as much as they were hurting. When they tried to take Hannah, said I was inadequate, too young. I had to fight. Legal battles for 2 years, spent every penny on lawyers. You won? Eventually. But I burned through all my savings. My career prospects had evaporated and I was trying to survive. Hannah and I moved around a lot. I took any job I could find. Construction, deliveries, warehouse work. We were homeless for 3 months when she was 4 years old. We lived in my car. I worked night shifts so I could take care of her during the day. The image of this man, this educated and intelligent man, sleeping in a car with his daughter broke something in Celeste. Ryan, I had no idea. Why would you? He smiled. I'm good at hiding it. Had to be. Social services were always watching, waiting for me to screw up to prove Sarah's family was right. But I kept my promise. I protected Hannah, gave her stability, education, love, and when this job came up, when I saw it included employee housing benefits and good schools nearby, I knew it was our chance for something better. I'm a widowed janitor and a 7-year-old child that I dread failing. Yes. Celeste took a step closer, close enough to see the golden flecks in his dark eyes. You kept your word, fought for your daughter. For a moment they stood there, the library around them full of stories but none as compelling as their own. Then Ryan stepped back, professional distance reasserting itself. I should get back to work, he said, and you probably should go home. It's almost midnight. Celeste looked at her watch, surprised. Hours had passed without her noticing. You're right. Will you? She paused, uncertain. Will you be here tomorrow? Every day, Ryan promised, smiling. It's my job. I have to be here every day. Part 2. The next morning, Celeste woke with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. She went through her routine, shower, coffee, review of the day's agenda, but her mind kept drifting to Ryan, to his story, to the way he looked at her in the library. By noon, Margaret appeared with her usual stack of documents and an unusual expression. What? Celeste asked, signing a contract without really reading it. You're humming, Margaret observed. I'm not. You absolutely are. You've been humming for the last 15 minutes, a bit off-key but humming. Margaret's smile was knowing. This wouldn't have anything to do with a certain janitor, would it? Celeste felt heat rise in her cheeks. I don't know what you're talking about. Celeste, dear, I've known you since you were in diapers. I know when you're developing feelings for someone. And before you deny it, just remember, there's nothing wrong with being attracted to a good man. He works for me, Celeste protested weakly. So did your grandfather when he met your grandmother. She was the owner's daughter. He was the night manager. Caused quite a scandal. Margaret placed a folder Celeste had never seen before. I found this in the archives. Thought you might like to read it. After Margaret left, Celeste opened the folder. Inside were letters, dozens of them, handwritten, dated from the 1950s. Her grandmother's correspondence with her grandfather during the year they dated in secret, afraid of what people would say about the class difference. One letter in particular caught her attention. My dearest James, society will judge us. They'll say we come from different worlds, that love isn't enough to bridge the gap between my privilege and your working class roots. But they don't understand that the best things in life are those we have to fight for. You've shown me that wealth means nothing without someone to share it with, and I've shown you that your worth isn't measured by your bank account. Together, we're building something neither of us could build alone. That's worth any amount of scandal. All my love, Catherine. Celeste leaned back, her grandmother's words echoing across decades. History repeating itself, or perhaps just proving that some truths were timeless. Her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. This is Ryan Walker. Margaret gave me your number. Hope that's okay. Hannah wanted me to thank you for being kind to us. She talks about you constantly. Also, she wanted me to ask if you'd like to have dinner with us sometime. Nothing fancy, just pizza and conversation. No pressure if you'd rather not. Celeste stared at the message, her heart racing. He was her employee. It was inappropriate, potentially problematic, definitely complicated. She typed, I'd love to. When? His response came quickly. Tonight? 6 p.m. I'll send you the address. It's a date, she wrote, then immediately panicked and added, not a date, Just dinner, as friends. As friends, he confirmed, and she could almost hear the smile in his words. Hannah will be thrilled. Celeste spent the rest of the day in a state of nervous energy that Margaret found highly amusing. At 5:30, she left the office, went home to change clothes, and then stood staring at her closet in mild panic. What does one wear to pizza dinner with a man who makes your heart race and his precocious 7-year-old daughter? She settled on jeans, real jeans, not designer jeans, and a simple blue sweater. Casual, approachable. The address Ryan had sent led her to a modest apartment complex on the outskirts of town. Not decrepit, but definitely not luxurious. She parked her car, a practical sedan she rarely drove, preferring her driver for business, and made her way to apartment 3B. Hannah opened the door before Celeste could knock. "You came," the little girl squealed, pulling her inside. "Daddy said you might be too busy, but I knew you'd come. I can tell when people are lonely, and you're lonely just like us." "Hannah, what did we talk about regarding personal observations?" Ryan emerged from the kitchen, and Celeste's breath caught. He was wearing jeans and a simple gray Henley, his hair slightly damp from the shower, and he looked more attractive than any man had a right to be. "That sometimes the truth hurts people's feelings," Hannah recited obediently. "But Miss Davenport doesn't look hurt. Do you, Miss Davenport?" "Not at all," Celeste assured her, though the truth had hit close to home. "And please call me Celeste." "Celeste?" Hannah tested the name. "That's pretty. It means heavenly, right? Like celestial? We learned that word in vocabulary last week." "You're absolutely right." Celeste looked around the apartment, small but impeccably clean with books everywhere, stacked on shelves, piled on tables, creating precarious towers and corners. "You have quite a library." "Reading is our favorite thing," Hannah announced. "Well, second favorite. First favorite is Daddy's black car. Want to see pictures? Daddy took me for a ride last Sunday and we went all the way to the lake." The evening unfolded with an ease that surprised Celeste. They ate pizza at a small kitchen table, Hannah chattering about school and books, Ryan interjecting with gentle corrections. The conversation flowed naturally, touching on literature and whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Hannah, yes. Ryan, absolutely not. Celeste, diplomatically abstaining. After dinner, while Ryan washed dishes and Hannah showed Celeste her room, a small space made magical with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and drawings covering every wall, the little girl pulled out a worn notebook. "This is my question notebook," she explained. "Whenever I have a question, I write it down and Daddy and I try to find the answer together. Want to hear some?" "I'd love to." Hannah flipped through pages filled with childish writing. "Why is the sky blue? Why do people cry when they're happy? Why do some people have lots of money and others have none? If you love someone, does that mean they'll always love you back?" The last question made Celeste's chest tighten. "Those are beautiful questions, Hannah. Daddy says questions are more important than answers sometimes. That being curious is better than being certain." Hannah looked at her seriously. "Are you curious about anything, Celeste?" Celeste thought about it. "Right now, I'm curious about what makes you and your dad so happy when you have so little." "We don't have little," Hannah corrected. "We have each other. Daddy says that's everything." Simple, profound, devastating in its honesty. When Hannah finally went to bed, Celeste and Ryan found themselves on the small apartment balcony, overlooking a parking lot that somehow seemed less depressing than it should. "Thank you for coming," Ryan said quietly. "Hannah has been talking about it all day. You're kind of her hero." "I'm nobody's hero," Celeste protested. "You're a woman who runs an empire, who took time to talk to a little girl about the hotel's history, who treats me like a person instead of a position. Believe me, that makes you a hero in Hannah's eyes. In mine, too." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, then Ryan said, "Can I ask you something? And you don't have to answer if it's too personal." "Ask." "That first day in the lobby, when Hannah said you looked sad, she was right, wasn't she? You are lonely." Celeste's first instinct was to deny it. "Yes, I have a 12-bedroom mansion and sleep in the same one every night because going to the others reminds me how empty they are. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes and no one to share it with. I run a hotel full of people and I've never felt so alone." "Why?" Ryan asked gently. "Someone like you? You could have anyone." "Could I?" Celeste turned to face him. "I'm 22 years old and own a business empire. Men my age are intimidated. Older men see dollar signs. And somewhere along the way I forgot how to be just Celeste. without the Davenport name and everything that comes with it. I should go, she said, not wanting to, but knowing she should. Ryan agreed, but neither of them moved. Same time next week if Hannah wants to, I mean. Hannah would love that, me too. That night, for the first time in years, Celeste fell asleep with a smile on her face. The weeks that followed fell into a pattern. Dinners at Ryan's apartment became a weekly ritual. Sometimes they cooked together, Ryan teaching her practical skills she had never learned. How to make pasta from scratch, how to properly season a cast iron skillet, how to brew the perfect cup of coffee. Hannah supervised, offering commentary, and asking endless questions. At the hotel, their professional relationship remained impeccable. Ryan did his job with quiet excellence and Celeste ran her empire efficiently. But there were moments. A shared glance across the lobby, a brief conversation. Margaret noticed, of course. "You're playing with fire," she warned one afternoon. "I'm having dinner with a friend," Celeste protested. "A friend you can't stop thinking about. A friend who makes you smile at random moments. A friend who, I should point out, works for you and could lose his job if this goes wrong." That evening, she brought up the subject. They were on his balcony again, Hannah asleep inside, the city lights spread below them. "Margaret thinks I'm being reckless," she said. "She's worried about the fact that you work for me, that there's a power imbalance." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. "Is there? A power imbalance, I mean? I don't know. I would never use my position to—" "I know you wouldn't," Ryan interrupted, "but Margaret isn't wrong to be worried. If anyone found out about these dinners, about us becoming, whatever we're becoming, it could look bad, for both of us. So what do we do? What if you didn't work for me?" Ryan's hand tightened on hers. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that if the problem is the power dynamic, we eliminate it. You find another job or I could help you." "No." Ryan pulled his hand back and Celeste saw hurt flash across his face. "I won't be kept. I won't be your charity project." "That's not what I meant. Wasn't it?" Ryan stood, pacing the small balcony. Celeste felt tears sting her eyes. "Ryan, I'm sorry. I want to be able to spend time with you without worrying about consequences." "Life has consequences," Ryan said, his voice gentler now. "Every choice we make, every risk we take. My whole life has been about navigating consequences. And I'm telling you, the consequence of rushing into something we're not ready for would be worse than taking it slow." "You're right," Celeste agreed. Ryan sat back down, close enough that their shoulders touched. "I want this too, more than you know. But I want it the right way. I want it to be real, not complicated by money or jobs or guilt. Can you understand that?" "I can." Celeste rested her head on his shoulder and Ryan didn't pull away. "We'll go slow. We'll figure it out together." "Together," Ryan agreed. They stayed like that for a long time, comfortable in the silence, and Celeste realized this quiet contentment, this simple human connection, was what had been missing. Not passion or excitement, but the deep peace of being with someone who sees you completely and chooses you anyway. The weeks stretched into months. Autumn arrived, painting the city. Hannah started third grade, full of stories about her teacher and friends. Celeste found herself drawn deeper into their lives. She attended Hannah's school play, sat beside Ryan, and felt fierce pride when the little girl delivered her single line perfectly. She helped with homework, explaining fractions patiently. She learned to play chess with Hannah, who had a frighteningly strategic mind. And with Ryan, things evolved quietly. Conversations that lasted until 3 in the morning. Shared books with notes in the margins. The day he taught her to change a tire on her car, his hands guiding hers, both laughing when she got grease on her face. But they maintained boundaries. No kissing, no physical intimacy beyond holding hands and occasional hugs. It was simultaneously frustrating and thrilling. This slow burn of attraction, this building of something real. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late October and Celeste had stayed at Ryan's apartment later than usual, helping Hannah with a Halloween costume. When she finally left, the streets were slippery with rain, and she was tired, distracted. She didn't see the motorcycle pull out of the gas station, didn't see it swerve to avoid another car, just registered the blue Harley hitting the wet pavement, the rider being thrown. Celeste stopped, hands shaking, fumbled with her phone to call 911. Other cars stopped. Someone ran to the rider, who was motionless, and then she saw. It was a teenager, maybe 17, who looked at the crowd with terrified eyes. "I'm sorry." The police arrived. Ambulance. Chaos. The boy had broken his leg, and from the severity of the crash would never walk again, which shocked Celeste. Celeste called Ryan with trembling hands. He answered on the first ring. "Celeste, what's wrong?" She told him everything. He came to her and stood there in the rain looking at the wreckage. Margaret found her the next day, still in yesterday's clothes, eyes red and exhausted. "What happened?" the older woman asked gently. Celeste told her everything. When she finished, Margaret sighed. Celeste didn't contact Ryan for 3 weeks. The 21 longest days of her life. Celeste couldn't forgive herself for this accident. She remembered the loss of her parents, what would happen to that young boy, and she locked herself in her mansion, no longer answered phone calls. Her lawyers resolved the bureaucratic part of the accident. Then she wrote a letter to Ryan. "I spent 3 weeks trying to understand what I did wrong, and I think I finally understand. I don't know if you can forgive me. I don't know if we can go back to what we were building, but I want you to know that meeting you and Hannah changed me. You showed me that wealth isn't money. It's connection, presence, the courage to be vulnerable. I've been rich all my life and desperately poor in the ways that really matter. If you decide you don't want to see me again, I'll understand. I'll respect that boundary. But if you're willing to give me another chance, I promise to do better. Listen more and fix less. Be present. Whether as friends or something more, you matter to me. Hannah matters to me. And I'm grateful for every moment we've shared, even the painful ones. Especially the painful ones, because they taught me something I needed to learn. With deep respect and affection, Celeste." She left the letter at his apartment door, didn't wait for a response. If he wanted to get in touch, he would. If not, she would respect that too. 2 days later, her phone rang at 11 at night. Ryan's number. "Hello?" She answered immediately, hope and fear warring in her chest. "Can you come here?" His voice sounded strange. "I know it's late, but I need to show you something." 20 minutes later, she was at his apartment, confused. Hannah was asleep, and Ryan looked like he hadn't slept in days. "What is it?" she asked. Ryan didn't respond. Instead, he went to his bedroom and came back with a small wooden box. He placed it on the coffee table between them and opened it. Inside was a $10 bill, old and faded, carefully preserved in plastic. Celeste's breath caught. "My father gave me this the day before he died," Ryan said. "Told me to save it for something important, something that mattered. I've kept it all these years, never certain what he meant." He looked at her and she saw tears in his eyes. "But recently, I've been thinking about what important means. Important is the people we love, the connections we make, the promises we keep." "Ryan, when I was 10 years old," he continued, his voice trembling, "I was at a supermarket with my father. We were struggling. He had just lost his job, and we were trying to make $3 stretch to feed us for a day. And this little girl, maybe 7, stopped in front of me and handed me $10. "Here," she said. "You need this more than I need ice cream." Celeste felt the world tilt. "I told her, when I'm a billionaire, I'm going to marry you, I promise." And she laughed and said, "Okay, it's a deal." No, it couldn't be. "I never forgot her," Ryan said. "That blonde girl with kind eyes who saw a poor boy and didn't look away. Who gave me hope in that moment. Who made me believe good people existed in the world." He pulled another item from the box. A child's drawing, faded and worn, of a boy and girl holding hands next to a pile of money and a heart. "I drew this the next day. Kept it all these years. My father found it when I was 15 and asked what it was. I told him about my promise. He said promises matter, even the ones that seem impossible." Celeste couldn't breathe, couldn't process what she was hearing. How could I? "Hey, remember 15 years ago when you gave money to that boy? Yeah, that was me, and we should get married now." She laughed bitterly. "I thought maybe the universe was playing a joke. Maybe it was just coincidence." "You give me everything," Celeste cried. "You and Hannah, you gave me purpose, connection, joy. You showed me what really matters. Money means nothing if you're spending it alone." They stood there, the weight of 15 years and a childhood promise hanging between them. Finally, Ryan spoke. "I'm not a billionaire," he said quietly. "I failed that promise. I'm just a widower trying to raise his daughter." "You kept the promise that mattered," Celeste said. "You stayed kind. You stayed hopeful. You stayed you." She looked at the $10 bill in her hand. And for what it's worth, I think 7-year-old Celeste would be very impressed with the man you've become. And 22-year-old Celeste? Ryan asked, taking a step closer. 22-year-old Celeste thinks 7-year-old Celeste had excellent taste. She closed the distance between them. Ryan Walker, wait. He stopped her. Before this goes any further, I need you to know something. I don't want your money. I want to build something with you as equals, even if our bank accounts never balance. I want Hannah to see that real love is about partnership, not power. Can you accept that? Yes, Celeste whispered. Yes, I can. And I'm sorry it took me so long to understand. And when he finally kissed her, it felt like a promise kept, a circle completed, a destiny that waited 15 years to unfold. They stood there in his small apartment, holding each other, and Celeste thought about that little girl who had given away her ice cream money, never knowing it would lead her here, to this moment, to this man, to this extraordinary, ordinary, perfect life she never knew she needed. Tomorrow would bring complications, questions about their relationship, concerns about propriety, decisions to be made about their future. But tonight, wrapped in Ryan's arms, Celeste felt something she hadn't felt since she was 7 years old, standing outside a supermarket with a clear conscience and $10 less in her pocket. She felt complete. The next morning, Celeste woke to find Ryan had sent her a message at dawn. Can you meet me at the hotel rooftop at 6 a.m.? I need to talk to you. She arrived to find him already there with Hannah beside him. The little girl ran to Celeste immediately. You came, Hannah said. I knew you would. Of course I did. Celeste looked at Ryan. His expression was unreadable. Hannah, go wait at the garden entrance for a minute, okay? Ryan said gently. The girl nodded and went skipping off. I've been thinking all night, he said. About us. About that promise. About what it means that we found each other again. Ryan, let me finish. He took a deep breath. When you gave me those $10, you changed my life. Not because of the money, but because you saw me. You looked at a desperate boy and saw a human being worth helping. Celeste felt tears sting her eyes. I built my entire fortune over years working in one of the country's largest pharmaceutical industries as a production engineer. And yes, I have a degree, Ryan continued. When Sarah died and years passed, I remembered the promise I had made and decided to fulfill it. I disguised myself as poor, got a job at your hotel as a janitor so you would notice me even though I was a janitor. It was a test, Celeste. I'm already a billionaire. I made investments. I hope you're not scared, because I wanted to make sure you were that sweet girl who never opted for money, always saw people first. Will you marry me? What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. I love the woman you've become. Strong, searching for connection in a world that only sees your wealth. I love that you sat with a 7-year-old child and answered her questions about the hotel's history. I love that you tried to fix my broken heart. I love your flaws and your strengths and everything in between. I love you too, Celeste said, the words coming easily now. I love your dignity. I love that you challenged me, that you refused to let me reduce this to money, that you saw me as Celeste, not just Celeste Davenport. I'm resigning, Ryan said firmly, smiling. Effective today. I already talked to Margaret. She's helping me find another position at a different hotel, same salary, employee housing. Hannah called from the garden entrance. Can I come back now? I'm getting cold. Yes, girl, Ryan called back, and Hannah ran over. Are you boyfriend and girlfriend now? The little girl asked directly. Because you were holding hands and looking at each other all mushy. Celeste laughed, the sound free and genuine. Would that be okay with you, Hannah? Are you kidding? I've been planning your wedding since the first day I met you. Hannah pulled a crumpled drawing from her pocket. Stick figures of a bride and groom beside each other. You knew before I did, didn't you? Duh, Daddy. You looked at her the way you look at your car, like she was the most beautiful thing in the world. Hannah turned to Celeste. And you looked at him like he was the answer to a question you'd been asking forever. Out of the mouths of babes, Celeste thought. In the following weeks, everything changed. Ryan assumed his true identity using his engineering degree. Celeste continued running Mel Brock with newfound lightness. They dated properly. Dinners where Ryan insisted on paying. Movies as a real experience. Weekend motorcycle rides where Celeste felt freer than she ever had in her mansion. The media noticed. Davenport heiress dating billionaire, read one headline. 6 months later. On the day they moved in, Hannah helped unpack while Ryan assembled furniture. Celeste stood in her new living room. Simple, warm, full of laughter, and realized this was what wealth really looked like. That evening, after Hannah had gone to sleep, "You're documenting us," Celeste said, touched. "I'm documenting proof that kept promises have power," Ryan corrected. A boy promised a girl he would become someone worthy and a billionaire. He pulled out one more thing, a small velvet box, a ring encrusted with diamonds. The wedding was small, just close friends. No media circus. Just two people who met against impossible odds. At the reception, Margaret pulled Celeste aside. "Your grandmother would be proud," the older woman said. "She always said the best things are those you fight for." "I didn't fight for this," Celeste said, watching Ryan dance with Hannah to her favorite song. "I stumbled into it. A 7-year-old girl gave away her ice cream money, and the universe gave me everything in return." "You gave money and received love," Margaret corrected. "That's not stumbling. That's instinctively knowing what matters." 7-year-old Celeste was wiser than 22-year-old you gave her credit for. As the evening ended, Celeste and Ryan stood once more under the stars, this time as husband and wife. "Do you remember what you told me?" Celeste asked. "That first night on your balcony? You said, 'When I'm a billionaire, I'm going to marry you.'" "I remember," Ryan said quietly. They stood there embracing as Hannah ran over, demanding one more dance before bed. And that, Celeste thought as Ryan kissed her and Hannah laughed, made everything even more perfect. Hello? I hope this story reminded you of some old promise or memory from the past. Now tell me, did you make a promise that changed your life? Share in the comments below.